welcome to the Renegade Society radio show. I am Sarah Erickson, Director of Sales and Marketing here at Renegade Game Studios, and I am very, very excited. We have a very special guest with us this week. We have B. Dave Walters, who's going to be B. Dave Walters, who is chatting with us about Vampire Masquerade and the World of Darkness in general. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us. How's it going?
Hello, thank you. I apologize if I seem a little frayed. I was having catastrophic internet issues until about 30 seconds ago. So if I drop out of nowhere, I'll be right back.
It's, the world of streaming. I think we've all probably dealt with a little bit of that in the last couple months. So Luckily we're all veterans in that department.
Hey,
disastrous technical.
The only easy days yesterday, right? Yeah, no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah,
thank you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And, before we jump into some questions, I have a few little small notes for our fans who are listening. This week, we are giving away copies of Stellar, and we're going to do a little giveaway about halfway through our show. And we'll be posting a link that you can fill out, a little entry form, and we'll be giving you a code word that you'll have to put into that form. So feel free to chill out, just listen to our enjoyable conversation. And if you think of any fun questions that you want to ask our wonderful guest this week, you're welcome to post those in the comments, and we will get to those near the end of the show. So
we'll do a little vampire ASMR, like, hey everybody, how you doing? Hi, listeners at home, hi.
I like it. We're getting right into the vampire-ness. I love it. This is kind of a new theme for Renegade. So to kick it off, we did want to have you on our show, but we also, for anybody who's just really curious about this game, we are doing demos coming up at Gen Con next weekend. So if people want to actually be able to play the game themselves, we're going to be allowing people to actually get their hands on it before our Kickstarter, which will be in August. So that's pretty exciting. And also, you are hosting a panel for us during Gen Con, which is pretty awesome. And you'll be interviewing the designer of the game, the art team, and some other people from our crew. I'm going to be on the panel, so we're going to flip the tables, and you'll get to interview me in a couple weeks. So that should be fun.
Looking forward to it.
That is during Gen Con. That's 3 to 4 Pacific time on the Gen Con Twitch channel. We made it to the main stage. I'm pretty excited about that. Not everybody gets to be so fancy.
That is Thursday, 3 to 4.
Thursday.
Yes.
Thursday, 3 to 4. Yeah, so that's going to be super fun. So yes, all sorts of vampire things. I heard a rumor that you actually got to play Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game this week, actually. Is that true?
Yes, I hit them up and I was like, I'm very important in the world of darkness. I should get a demo, and no one cared. And then I whined and complained a lot and managed to sneak in and get a chance to play. And yes, it is incredibly cool. Really enjoyed it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for more people to get their hands on this. It's something we've been working on for a long time now. And one thing that's always really important to us at Renegade is making sure that people who are already fans of that world that we're dipping our toes into love what we're making. And we've already done that. I don't know if you're aware of the Power Rangers game, but we did Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid a couple years ago. And we have this huge community of Power Rangers fans now who are so enthusiastic and wonderful in every certain way that you can imagine. And I can't wait to start getting more vampire fans and getting to know that community too. So for anyone who is maybe not aware of the World of Darkness, could you give us just a little intro? Like, what is this whole universe that we're talking about?
The World of Darkness, on the broadest of senses, is they are storytelling games of personal horror. On a more specific sense, they are this world. They're the world we live in, except everything you thought was a myth is real. Vampires are real. Werewolves are real. Magical humans, monsters that go bump in the night are all real. And you have to find your way navigating those treacherous streets through either as a mortal who tries to keep your head on your shoulders, perhaps as a ghoul and the servant of an immortal monster, or if you are lucky enough, as one of the privileged few, the kindred, who will live forever and have to bear the weight of that, and trying to hold on to a piece of what made you you and what made you human as you make your way down the inevitable slide towards becoming a monster. Because at the end of the day, all kindred are. It's just some know how to admit it to themselves. And these games in particular, the World of Darkness, has had so much influence on pop culture over these last almost 30 years that many of the tropes and concepts and ideas that you've seen in some of your favorite shows, you'll run into in these games, and you'll be like, oh, they got that from this show. And you're like, oh no, that show got that from this. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really surprising how deep it goes into pop culture and how really it is a whole universe that's been created. So we're just dipping our toes into the vampire part of it. But as you mentioned, there's also werewolf and several other parts of this world that you can dive all the way into and really experience. So obviously, from the way that you've explained just that tiny part of World of Darkness, you are a storyteller and you really enjoy doing that world creation and getting those characters into that universe that you enjoy so much. So tell us a little bit about LA by Night, because I've heard that you're part of that. And what is that?
I mean, no, I do play a small part in that. Let me give you two parts of that one there. When you were talking about the storytelling, I think in many ways I've found it is often easier for new players to get into the World of Darkness, because even though there is a significant amount of lore, people comprehend New York, they comprehend Los Angeles. You can set a story in your town. You say there's a shootout in the parking lot of the high school, you know the high school. So it's easy to step into that and be very present. Where in some other things like Dungeons and Dragons, for instance, when you're explaining Waterdeep, if you've got no point of reference, it takes a little longer to kind of, put on that coat and be in that world. Whereas in the World of Darkness, you're right there. For us, Vampire the Masquerade LA by Night, we've done 4 seasons now. It's time is a flat circle, so it's difficult to add things up anymore. We've done 4 seasons of that. We were kind of the flagship show to reintroduce Vampire 5th edition into the world. I play Victor Temple, the undisputed Baron of the Valley, and we just get to tell the story of the Knights of Los Angeles and the power struggle between the 2 main factions of the Camarilla, which is the old guard, and the Anarchs, which are the young, smarter, cooler, and superior in every way vampires, just trying to survive.
Clearly, you have no opinion about that, right?
No, I'm completely unbiased and being very, very fair about all of this. It's just some things are just true. Against the scrambling for power with other vampires, and the fact that the humans know, and the humans are on our trail and wish our eradication. And it's fine. People that have watched the show, it's silky smooth, uneventful. Things don't blow up often. There's not a lot of heart-rending terror and angst and heartbreak. No, that only happens like every second, maybe third episode. So yeah, no, it's good.
So you've been doing that for 4 years now. That's actually a long time. So have you played the same character throughout all 4 seasons?
It is actually, we've shot those 4 seasons back to early 2018. So again, time has no meaning anymore. But I think roughly 3-ish years we've been doing it. But I've been playing Vampire back to first edition, almost all 30 years. Victor was very much born for this show, though. And I've been playing him this whole time, and hopefully we'll get to play him for the foreseeable future. As long as he can kind of stay, one step ahead of all the checks that he's writing, But
that is kind of a bonus of playing a character that is a vampire. Theoretically, you could just keep playing as that vampire forever, as long as, like you said, you didn't get into too much trouble.
Theoretically, I keep threatening to do we'll do a story set in deep space in the year 3000. We should still be alive theoretically. So it has been a joy, though, to get to be a part of a long form project, to let it grow and evolve and have his story grow and evolve, and who he is and what I intended for him grow and evolve. And to be able to have the fans come along with us on that journey has been really great. In fact, I will tell you one small thing. This logo behind me is a version of the Ventru clan logo, but let me see if it's going to cooperate. That is the current Ventru clan logo. And when I was originally cast for this, I got this dice box first. I was the first person in the world to have any merch with the new Ventru logo on it. And I just remember I had like this moment where I was like legit tears, like just sort of like holding it like, you know, like well, we did it, you know, we did it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously Vampire the Masquerade World of Darkness has been around for a long time, but there was recently this 5th edition that came out and a few changes that happened. So for people who were fans of this universe in the past, what can you tell them about why they should come back and be part of the new World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition?
Because it really is beautifully streamlined. Most of the games, especially the original games, they called it the World of Darkness for a reason. And almost all of the games had some impending apocalypse. Like every game had a bad thing that was imminent. The vampires had Gehenna, the werewolves had the apocalypse, the changelings had the long winter. It's like this terrible thing we're fighting against, somewhat futilely. And when the first versions of the games were kind of winding up, they wrote endings for all the stories if you wanted them to. They wrote endings where like the bad thing happened. And then there kind of was not really anything published for about 15 years. There were intermittent things. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but for the most part, there was about a 15-year lull. And now it's come back where the games pick up after that, almost like, well, everything we thought was going to happen has happened and worse, but here we are still alive. What does that mean now? You know, what does it mean to be a vampire in a post 9/11 surveillance state? What does it mean to be a werewolf in a world with the pipeline protests and rampant pollution and global warming and all of those things? And I think the appeal of these games, the idea that you can fight back against hopelessness, that you can do something and still be a force in your world resonates now more than ever. So I would say anyone who has played before and hasn't played since, it is the absolute best time to rejoin us in the nights. You're always welcome in the valley.
I can't agree with that more. I think a lot of people are facing things right now that no generation currently alive has had to deal with. And it's really important, I think, to just have hope, but also be able to get out some of these feelings or maybe explore some of these challenges that we're facing in a really safe way. And RPGs are just so good for that. And I think anybody who is just kind of sitting in their house alone, wishing that they could get out there and hang out with their friends again, RPGs are so wonderfully easy to play online. And it doesn't take away a lot of that experience to be on screen with people versus staying at a table. Of course, at a table is a little bit better for some reasons, but we can still play with people who are all over the world. And that's, to me, amazing and super exciting that we can do that, as long as your internet doesn't,
as long as don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. It's still cooperating. Yeah. Well, yeah, here's the point of my shameless plug. I run games on Patreon. We've been doing it for about a year now. Patreon.com/BDaveWalters. I have literally a worldwide community where they're 24 hours a day playing on Discord, and we do live sessions about 6 to 10 times a week, which wouldn't be possible if we had to all get around the table. So as soon as we're done here, we're going to go do a game for somebody's birthday. So if you're looking for a chance to play, come join us. We'd love to have you.
That's very cool. So all of that is fantastic, and role-playing games are just awesome. Of course, Renegade does some role-playing games as well, and we're really, really happy to be part of the whole Vampire the Masquerade universe. But we're actually making a card game. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you got to play that a little bit. And
I did.
How did you feel about that fitting into that story, that universe that you've enjoyed for so long? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with it?
Yes. I won't reveal just yet what clan I played, but I will say you have to tune in and see. You have to watch. But what I will say is I really appreciated the way it captured 4 of us play, and of the 4 different clans, everyone else had a very different goal state, which I thought was like very clearly resonated with what the clans are after, which I thought was neat. And also there was the shared menaces of some things that were just happening in the city that we all had to react to in our own way, especially through the lens of what our clan was trying to achieve. I really like that as well. It definitely felt like there were unique experiences to each player along with the shared experience, along with the mechanic of having a rival at the table that you were personally trying to defeat, who may or may not be trying to personally defeat you, which is because you get this elaborate zigzag of machinations of cutting deals with my enemy and the enemy of my enemy and all of these things, which was a lot of depth in nuance to the game. And I also like the fact that it was an expandable card game. So theoretically, everyone that buys a set has all the same cards, all the same tools in your toolbox. I was a veteran of old school Magic the Gathering. I was there at the beginning, like Black Lotus time.
Wow.
And the thing that made me stop playing was it got to a point that it was just whoever just spent the most money was the one who was going to win. And realizing that is not how this game works was also refreshing. You just have to be the superior vampire and, you know, get a not insignificant amount of luck on your side to win the night.
Well, and I like that thematically too, because we assume that if you have immortality and essentially infinite time, you would be able to get all of the cards that you want, right? So we're just going to give them all to you to start with.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. You know, it's like I got all the time in the world to plot my machinations. Yes. And then boom, gonna cut the cables on the trolley car. What are those called? The things in San Francisco, the car, were they trolley cars? Cable cars. Yeah.
Cable cars, yeah.
Yeah.
Cut the cable on the cable car.
I did that to them at one point. I cut the cables on the cable car, and then like that does things, and I was happy to see it happen to everyone but me. You know, little things like that.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, we're really excited for Rivals to come out. I think it's going to be fun to just let everybody go and play in that world in a slightly different way. There have been a lot of really cool Vampire the Masquerade games coming out recently. Of course, ours is going to be very exciting for us, but have you gotten a chance to play any of the other ones that have come out recently?
I don't know if you can see the lasers of NDAs appearing all over me here while I'm done.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm like
no.
It's like the Senate confirmation. Somebody whispers in my ear, and I'm like,
no.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of neat stuff in the pipeline, folks. Let me just say that it's a good time to be a fan.
Totally true. Man, I cannot wait for the next Bloodlines to come out. I think that's going to be super awesome. As much as I love tabletop gaming, I also play a lot of video games. So,
well,
it's going to be fun.
LA by Night in many ways is directly born out of Bloodlines, where a lot of the characters and situations from that game came to life in our stream to sort of like cross that over, because it is a shared continuity between all of the official products, which is why you play the game and you meet Nines Rodriguez and then you see him walk onto the screen in our show, brought to life brilliantly by Luis Carrazzo. You get to see Strauss, you get to see Gary Golden, like all these people that you've spent so much time with, and then there they are living and breathing in 3 dimensions, or not breathing in our case. Still, it's really great to be able to like step into.
That sounds so awesome. Well, if anybody here who's watching us has not watched Vampire the Masquerade LA by Night, please go watch the show. It's really, really well done. And of course, also all the other vampire stuff that's going on out there. I know there's a Discord channel that World of Darkness just started up a couple weeks ago that is just filled with fans, people coming back from being fans a long time ago who are just jumping back into it right now. So as you said, it's a really good time to be a World of Darkness fan in general.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be awesome. I did have a few more notes for my team that they were wondering about. So in the world, there's several vampire laws. There's kind of a list of important ones. Do you want to tell our fans who maybe aren't familiar with Vampire the Masquerade about those a little bit? I just think
about
they're kind of cool.
the traditions.
Yeah.
See, I appreciate being caught flat-footed to recite the traditions because as an anarch,
Oh
I do not care about them. But this is
Fair
without
enough.
me. This is without me googling. So I appreciate some of the fans are going to be raging if I say them out of order and stuff. But again, I'm like, y'all, I'm an anarch. But
Lucky.
exactly this is it because I couldn't pass the traditions test. Um,
Oh no.
no, there's a couple of things. The first one is the Masquerade, which is why why the game is called Vampire the Masquerade. Vampires try and keep their existence a secret from the mortal world because historically, once humans tend to find out about vampires, little things like the Inquisition and the Burning Times tend to happen. And they are ideally the silent puppet masters from behind the scenes that manipulate the mortal world, which in game there's a logic to that, but out of game there's a logic to it that's why the world of darkness is this world. Like it's the world we live in. But it's why you've never heard that vampires exist because they don't want you to. So that's the Masquerade. Some of the other ones that, again, for the most part, the anarchs do not live by. There is you have to get permission from the prince of the city, which is the vampire that is in charge of everybody, at least on the Camarilla side, before you visit the final death on any other kindred. Because again, you're supposed to live forever. So killing someone who's immortal is supposed to carry some weight. So you're supposed to get permission before the final death is carried out. You're supposed to get permission before you create another vampire, before you create a child of your own. And anything that child does is a reflection on you. So if you raise a new vampire and they immediately run to TMZ and are like, bah, I'm a vampire, and start murdering people on TV, that's a massive breach of the Masquerade, which will not just get them killed, it's probably going to get you killed. There is a territory. You're supposed to come and get permission before you set up camp somewhere and be like, this is mine, because you have certain rights with the havens, and hunting rights and all of those things. I'm probably forgetting one, but I spend so much time being dismissive of the things they want me to do.
So tell me a little bit about that. So we have these rules lawyer type vampires who are in the Masquerade on this side, and then we have the anarchs. So as an anarch, tell me a little bit about your goals in the game. What are you and what are you trying to do here?
Well, there are three main factions, and especially this is something that fans of the old game will adjust to when they come back. Is there's the Camarilla, which is the old guard, and in the old game, the Camarilla were the default good guys. In a game where there were no good guys, the Camarilla perspective was the truth. You know, the prince, the primogen, the traditions, and all that organization is how it is done. Then you had the anarchs that were like these unruly teenagers that just haven't learned their place yet, and then you had the Sabbat, which were like monstrous, psychopathic, terrorists, people that we just don't discuss. Now, in the new game, the perspective is shifted more towards the anarchs, that the old guard Camarilla way of doing things didn't work. It's falling apart. It is trying to use, like I said to the prince to his face on the show, that I can't get modern day results with a 17th century playbook. Which is why the anarchs have rejected that. The anarchs theoretically are the unbound. In many ways, despite all that greasiness that I just talked, they still kind of live by the traditions. They still observe the Masquerade just because it makes sense, at least. The rest of them, maybe not so much. Like we don't ever really check with anybody before we visit the final death on someone. But the anarchs theoretically want to be able to self-govern. They don't want to have to answer to a prince. They don't want somebody to be able to rule over them just because they're older than them. And they want to be free. This, of course, has its own complications because at the end of the day, every kindred has the beast in their heart and every kindred is a monster and as such can't really be trusted to self-govern. That's why anarchs have people that are called barons. I am a baron in the anarchs. Victor Temple is the baron of the valley. The valley is mine. In many ways, a baron is just a mini prince, to tell you the truth. They don't like to admit it, but it is true. And you just try and find a way to like peacefully coexist as much as possible in an area. And the Sabbat, the third faction, has not really turned up in 5th edition too much yet. because they suffered some very heavy losses in that intervening 15 years when the Second Inquisition started. The Sabbat are the ones that they kind of went after first, and then a lot of them left and went to North Africa to a war of some sort that we haven't quite found out what it is. I'm sure we've heard the last of the Sabbat. I'm sure they're not coming back at all. I'm sure, it's going to be fine. Again, it's going to be good. No, you safely put them out of your mind. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, but
don't worry about them.
No. Why would that be an existential threat to all of us? No. Those are basically the factions in the modern knights.
Nice. So that gives us a really good overview. Thank you for explaining that a little bit further for our fans. So we are almost at halfway through, and we did want to do a little giveaway, and then also just a reminder that we are taking some questions. So Desiree is going to post a link in our chat to everyone so you can fill that little form out. And the code word today is Night Sky. And we're celebrating Stellar because we actually have copies of that we can give away now. But I thought it was also appropriate for Vampire the Masquerade. You guys kind of like the nighttime, right? Not so much the daytime.
The nighttime is the right time, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, if you would like a copy of the small card game Stellar, we're giving away 4 copies of that. And also, Desiree's going to post one more really quick thing in there. If you do want to join our Discord channel so that you can get into those games during Gen Con, she's going to post the link to that Discord channel as well. So awesome. While people are thinking about their questions for you, what got you into Vampire at the very, very beginning? So obviously you've been doing this, you said, for 30 years, so it's been a while. Can you remember back to the beginning and why you ended up here?
I can. It was, the late 90s, the whole grunge countercultural thing just landed on me like a ton of bricks. And as much as I love Vampire, actually Werewolf was the one that I played first, because you're 16 years old and people are like, hey, would you like to turn into a giant rage monster and like destroy everything that makes you mad? It's like, yes, I would, actually.
Thank you, please.
Yes, sign me up for that. Yeah, so with the, the rage against the dying of the light, I was pre-sold for that. And it was when I was in college, actually, that I got more into Vampire, when it was more subtle at that point. When you start to realize that maybe just being mad all the time and destroying things was not the way to win. Maybe you just needed to be like a little smoother about it and play a longer game. And that was when I first, began my love affair with Clan Ventru that has lasted until the modern nights. And I did a lot of LARPing in those days too. And it always stuck with me. It's the fact that you can just very easily slide into that world because it's this world. And then all of the movies started coming out and TV shows and everything where you just saw so many reminders of that world. It's like I never left it. And I was playing the whole time. I guess I had a small lull when kind of the book started coming out. So when V5 came out, we actually were able to play test it at the beginning. And the first thing I really loved is I love the blood dice mechanic and some of just the changes to the game to kind of like streamline it, make it a little bit smoother. And it was just like, again, putting on an old comfortable coat and just sliding right back into it and having the opportunity to help define what Clan Ventru looks like in the 21st century was something I never thought I'd be able to do and took so much joy in and continued to take so much joy in. And it's just been fantastic. I have loved every single second of it and look forward to doing it for 30 more years.
I find it really interesting that you got into it with all this sort of emotion that wasn't necessarily positive, but you could take that emotion and really channel it in a useful way that gave you something to do that was a positive force in your life. And then now in modern day, 30 years later, you're still able to play this game, but at a totally different level because it can still be emotional and exciting and creative and imaginative, but it doesn't have to just be this dark grunge thing. So
Yeah.
how do you think it was possible for this game to survive when it did start during such a cultural setting of that grunge sort of anti-government or whatever, anti-establishment? Do you see some of that happening again today that maybe draws people to it?
Oh, absolutely. I've had the privilege of coming to know a lot of the developers of the original game, and more than one of them have said to me, "It's like we wrote the worst world we could think of, and in many ways, this world is worse." So in many ways, it is almost brighter in the world of darkness now, in an odd way. In that it is an escape. Like I said, I've been doing these Patreon games for about a year now. I've had hundreds of players, and I'm always fascinated by what character they choose to play and how what mask they choose to put on as a person that is in this world. And there are so many different approaches to it. Not everybody has to be a scheming businessman or a shadowy stalker in the night or a trench coat katana dude or the sex pot siren in the corner of the club. There are so many different ways to approach looking at, if I am a monster that is truly trying to be a good person for as long as I can, what does that look like? And I think that is very cathartic in modern times, because a lot of us do feel helpless, or you might feel restrained, or you might feel like there's something you can't do, and then you get put in this world where there are still constraints, but they're constraints you can push back against or manipulate to your own ends, or play the game and win it in your own way and on your own terms, in a way that I think some of those catharsis, that all games give you the chance for a catharsis, but when it's so close to what is real, you can actually start letting out some actual real emotions and start feeling actual fulfillment and actually resolve some things. I can't tell you how many times I've had people where we did plot lines with their sire, the vampire that created them, and in the process of resolving those sire plot lines, end up working through some stuff that maybe was a connection to them and their real parents, or a
Mm-hmm.
romantic subplot develops between two players. And, it goes where it goes. And sometimes they get married. Sometimes one of them dies. Sometimes they horrifically break up. But it helps them complete other things from their real life. Other higher fantastic games can do that. Obviously, a lot of other apocalyptic games, Outbreak Undead, shout out to Outbreak,
That's right.
can help you work through some of that. But I think with Vampire, in the world of darkness in general, but Vampire in particular, it is a shorter step to get over there, if that makes sense. It might be a longer leap to get there in some other games. In Vampire, it's just a little hop. And then you get to you learn a lot about yourself, man. You learn a lot about yourself, and you quickly.
So we were chatting in a recent episode about Kids on Bikes, and we just put out Kids on Brooms, actually released this week. And it's a very straightforward and simple system, very rules light, very much about building that world together. And what we were talking about is, how do you build a character if you've never done an RPG before? Because it is such an easy system to get into. We see a lot of brand new players jumping into it and not knowing how to pick a character to play. Do they pick one that really represents themselves so they can sit down at the table and think, what would I actually do in this situation? Or do they pick a character that's so opposite of themselves that they get to explore some of these different parts of their personality, or what it would be like to be somebody completely different than who you actually are? So what advice would you give new players jumping into Vampire, which is obviously not the easiest system in the entire world? It does have some rules. It's streamlined now, which is great, but it is a little bit of a deeper system. So how would you go about picking a character if you had never played an RPG before?
First thing I would say is there is no wrong answer to it. There's no wrong answer at all. The second thing I'd say is you pick a movie or a TV show with a character that you really love. And it's like, if you wanted to play that character, who is it? and then reverse engineer that down kind of through the clans and everything, and make it manifest. If somebody's like, I want to be James Bond, or I want to be Wonder Woman, or I want to be Hannibal Lecter, or I want to be Aragorn, or whoever, like there is a way to make that work in this framework and go from there, and understand that who you think that character is can change, and that's all right. I just mentioned Outbreak Undead. We did We're Alive Frontier, which was our streaming show that where we were playing the Outbreak system. And my character in that system ended up being this like revolutionary leader of the community. And when I created Victor, one of the things I wanted expressly is I was like, he's not going to be the leader because I just did that on this other show. And I want to do something very different. I think we were 4 episodes in when I became Baron.
Sometimes you just end up in a place, you have a magnetic personality to that thing. I see that happen a lot in RPGs.
I mean, we are what we are, and it just, and that was one of those times that I started to find out, things about myself as I saw certain through lines in the characters that I was playing. They were just aspects of me. I've been blessed to do so much of this for so long now that I'm to the point that now I expressly pick characters based on what haven't I done, What have I not played now? Like if you come at me and you're like, it's an agoraphobic kobold with one leg, daddy issues, and is afraid of open fire, I'm like, done. Give it to me. Let's go. Let's roll. Yeah.
Haven't done that one yet? Jeez,
I know.
Stable.
Hey, what's a heaven for if not man's reach should exceed his grasp, I'm playing in a project this weekend. It's not announced yet, but I'm playing a pirate. I'm playing this shadowy killer who's a pirate that's afraid of water. Like that's the
good luck with that.
Exactly. Then like he's this like night stalker, death in the darkness, and then it gets splashed and it's like, like that's. But it's because I thought it'd be fun, So it's just whatever you think is going to be interesting, and realizing that role can change and that is okay. That if you think, I can't tell you how many characters on my Discord were wallflowers, were conflict avoidant, were runners, that over time evolved into these like very powerful, outright, oftentimes leaders in their own right, because the human that was playing the role evolved and the role evolved with it. And that's all right. There's no wrong answer. Just show up and the only wrong answer is not playing. That's the only mistake. The only mistake is not trying it. Beyond that, just get in and give it a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the idea of using role playing to explore parts of your personality, but also to get better at things the same way that people improve themselves with improv or drama or anything else like that. I saw this in my sister. She was a pretty shy kid, and then she took drama classes, and now she's a teacher. And so she's up in front of people, directing them, teaching them, talking every single day. And it was because she was able to do those classes and think about things in a creative, different way that led her to that profession. And I think role playing can really do that for people pretty well. I own a hobby store, and I've talked about this before on the show, but I have this group of kids that comes and plays. They're high school kids, and they're exploring all sorts of different crazy emotions and hormones and things going on in their lives. And I love watching them play, because they'll get married to each other and break up, and all of a sudden they'll have a sex change, or all sorts of things that they can't experience yet because they're still just teenagers, but they're able to go through all of that stuff in this role-playing game that they've created. I don't even know what system. I think it's just one they made up, but they're using all these creative skills to really get through a lot of life stuff. And it seems like Vampire is a good one to do that, especially because it forces you a little bit farther to think about these things that you wouldn't necessarily be comfortable thinking about on a regular basis.
Absolutely. You have to act as if. Yep.
I like it. Awesome. So we have a few minutes left in our show, and I really, really want to hear from our fans. Desiree is on the back end helping us out today. Desiree, what are our fans asking about?
All right. Whoa, excuse me.
I have that effect on people, Desiree. My presence as a ventrue.
Perfect.
So we do have a few questions. We do have one question for Sarah too. What is your favorite Renegade game, Sarah? Just real quick.
Man, put me on the spot. That's like picking one of your children. That's a tough one. I will say though, I love Arboretum so much. I think the only time I have like fangirled out ever was when I met Dan Cassar, the designer of Arboretum, because I love the game so much. It was really exciting to get to meet him. But I have a lot of different games that I really love depending on the group that I'm with. And so if I want to play something a little bit more like, I don't know, thinky, maybe with my bigger gamer group, I might pull out The Search for Planet X. If I'm just with my husband, we might play Stellar because it's a great 2-player game. But Arboretum pretty much fills all the needs for almost every category for me. So that would be pretty close to the top of my list.
Awesome. Wow, I'm just like losing my voice. I guess you do have that effect, B-Day.
The Baron is here.
It's just the power. It's just the power. That's all.
A question about Rivals. Can you mix clans in Rivals?
I mean, I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer because I've only played it the once. So I'll let you answer.
So that is a great question. So it is an expandable card game, and when you get that box and you open it up to begin with, you will have 4 pre-built decks so that you can just get on the table and start playing right away. But there's also going to be inside that box this thing called the Crypt Pack. And that extra pack of cards is intended to be used to mix and match those decks however you want. And you can absolutely and are encouraged to mix clans and build a deck that really fits exactly what you want to play. Similar to what we were talking about with role-playing, we do want you to be able to have the experience that you are looking for in Rivals as well. So absolutely, you can do that.
Awesome. All right, so if you have played the video game, will you recognize things in the card game?
So I have not played the previous version of the video game yet because I'm waiting for the new one to come out. But yes, I mean, we're still in the world of darkness. And one thing that we have spent a lot of time doing as Renegade over the last many months now is just checking every single tiny detail with our contacts at Paradox to make sure that everything still fits into that world. So if you know the Vampire the Masquerade, if you know the World of Darkness lore, you're going to be able to jump right into this and recognize all those things you know and love in the card game as well. So Rivals should feel like you're just putting on your favorite jacket all over again.
Awesome. And then Dave, and for Sarah probably, favorite vampire movie?
Interview with a Vampire.
That is a pretty good one. I'm gonna have to go with Blade. So that was the one that I watched, the very first vampire movie I ever watched, actually. And I watched it again on a plane a few months ago, and I was like, yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, the first one is still held up pretty well. The other one's not so much, but the first one, yeah. Except,
it was fun.
No pitiful thin blood would ever be able to kill that many vampires. I said what I said, but besides that, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, throwing some shade. That's fair. No love for thin bloods. That's pretty common around here.
No.
What is one clan you haven't played as that you'd like to play as next?
In doing the Anarchs of New York Twitter campaign that grew into a stream in its own right, I dove very deeply into Clan La Sombra, and I definitely found like a new love for Clan La Sombra. I like them a lot. But kind of to that point that I was saying earlier, that at this point I'm looking for things that I've just never done. So any of them, really. But I think if I was going to play something, I would either do La Sombra or despite all of the craziness that I talk about them constantly, I could play a Duskborn. I could play a Thin Blood. It wouldn't be Blade because you get worked quickly, but I could play. Yeah. But yeah, I could do that.
And then
I like it.
I have said this before. I have a problem with Twitch names. I always mispronounce them. But JOS4A2, you are awesome, B Dave. Thank you for being such a great ambassador for World of Darkness. Any word on when we'll get season 5 of LA by Night?
Y'all, you know, I don't know if anybody's noticed, we're sort of in the midst of an apocalypse. We got very lucky that we taped season 4. We pre-taped all of season 4 right before like the heavy lockdown started. So we've had plans, and then the universe keeps altering our plans. The only thing I can tell you is that it is going to happen. Besides that, you know, you'll find out right after I find out. I just know it's going to happen.
Awesome. And then, let's see. Will the Vampire Rivals Tabletopia module come back to try when the Kickstarter is released? I guess with that you can talk about Gen Con plans as well for the game.
Yeah, so we are going to be playing Rivals on our Gen Con, on Tabletopia during Gen Con. And basically all you need to do is, if you didn't already sign up for one of those Gen Con events, you can go to our Discord channel, and we'll be posting in there anytime we have available seats in one of our games that we're demoing. You'll be able to sign up for that, first come, first serve, and jump into a seat and then learn. So all next weekend, Thursday through Sunday, we're going to be doing as many demos as we can possibly fit in. And if you just don't make it, you're busy next weekend, whatever, we do have several playthroughs that we're doing that we've recorded. And B Dave was on one of them yesterday, or a couple of days ago. And so we're going to be posting those so you can at least watch and get a feel for the game and understand how it works. And we'll be posting those during our Kickstarter. During our Kickstarter, we may or may not have it up available to try out. We definitely will have several times between now and when it releases when you will have another chance to get to come and play. So we have more to announce about that coming, but so hold tight. But if you can make it next week, that's the best time. Get to see it before anybody else does. It'll be fun.
Awesome. So let's see. Are you aiming for a tournament scene with Rivals?
So if you want to find out about organized play for Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game, I am going to get to tell you all about it. So I do have a pretty extensive plan for this. We have lots of fun things going on. And if you're worried about coronavirus interfering with those plans, don't worry. We have contingency plans so you can play along with us at home. You can play at a local store. You can go and do tournaments, which we'll talk about even more. And we're going to be revealing more of that information during our Gen Con panel next week. So definitely join us. That is Thursday from 3 to 4 Pacific time on the Gen Con Twitch channel. So definitely, if you're interested in organized play, come and watch, and I'll tell you all about it.
All right. And then someone's asking for a link to check out Vampire the Masquerade LA by Night. So if we have a link for that, I can put
it's on YouTube. We moved homes midway. We moved homes after season 3. So the first 3 seasons are on Geek and Sundry's YouTube. If you just go to YouTube and you just type in Vampire the Masquerade LA by Night, you'll see it. Episode 1 has Cynthia Marie and I looking all dramatic on the thumbnail there. And then season 4 is on the World of Darkness YouTube. So you'll get 3/4 of the show in one place, and then the next chunk afterwards, as we spun off on our own.
Great.
Also, shameless plug, I story told Vampire the Masquerade Long Beach by Night. 2 seasons are up on the Q Times YouTube, and I also did Anarchs of New York, which also moved homes midway through, half of which is on the Level Up Dice YouTube, the other half is on Q Times.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. And then
you're kind of just all over the internet.
Yeah.
7 days a week I'm somewhere, like literally, but I have spread my infestation between the world of darkness and Dungeons and Dragons like as much as I possibly could. Yes. And then I don't even know if it's announced, but I am going to be doing an Outbreak game again from Renegade. That's coming up soon too. So yes, I'm literally 7 days a week I'm somewhere.
Awesome.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Let's see. Will there be a retail pledge for the Kickstarter?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, I actually own a retail store, and we would be remiss if we did not have a very good retailer option for this, because it's important to us to get communities built for this. I think that's one thing that Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness in general has always done really well, is have people who share this love and are really fans of this whole universe, and they get together and enjoy that. And whether that's over the internet or in a store, we want people to be able to feel like they're part of something. And so stores are a really big part of that. And we will definitely have a very good retailer kit that you can order and then be ready to start doing organized play in your store from that Kickstarter kit, which just right off the bat, you can start hosting tournaments, participating in the other organized play stuff that we'll be talking about next week. So definitely, if you're a retailer, we want to make sure it's worthwhile for you to put some effort into hosting these for us. And hopefully by the time this comes out later this year, things will be a little bit easier to host in-store play. I know that's kind of challenging right now, but we're getting closer, and hopefully everyone will be able to come and sit at a table in not too long. But we have plans for that if not. So we'll support you. We love our retailers.
Awesome. Let's see. So I think that might be all the questions. So when you had said, B. Dave, that you were somewhere 7 days a week, Joseph and Facebook says, "Dang, CSI has nothing on you."
Oh man, this is when I would put on my glasses and like dramatically walk away, you know. But yeah, it's like you can find me more places than a Law and Order rerun. That is absolutely true. Yes.
Yeah. That's hard to do. That's pretty impressive. And then one other thing I did want to make sure everybody knows, if you want to make sure you don't miss our Kickstarter for Vampire Rivals, we have a website all up and ready to go. You can go and check out some of the artwork that we've already posted, and that is vampirecardgame.com. And so go to that site, check that out, and make sure you click on the link. It says launching on Kickstarter. Make sure you go there to the notify link so that it'll remind you when we actually launch.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that was all the questions. Someone did ask about custom card sleeves. I don't know if there's any thoughts about that.
We will have more information for you about that soon. But yes, we've been playing card games for a very long time. Our team has played way too many card games, starting all the way back in the Decipher years. Scott Gata, the president of Renegade, he was involved in the Star Trek TCG, Star Wars TCG, Lord of the Rings TCG, World of Warcraft, Versus, a whole bunch of ones you've never heard of before. And me personally, I started playing Magic about 1999. So not for as long as B. Dave, of course, but for a while. And I actually got into this industry because I was playing Magic and just love card games in general. So we have some experience on the team, and that's just two of us. There's also a bunch of other people that in that panel we're going to be talking about, other people on our team who've also played a lot of card games. So yes, we love accessories because that's a big part of playing card games. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Awesome. And then just a request from me, if you could repeat the code phrase just before we leave.
Yeah, so Desiree's going to put that link in there one more time. And the code word for today to get entered into a copy of Stellar is Night Sky, which is very appropriate for today. So Night Sky, don't forget that code word. Awesome. Well,
I would like to
this
request
has
the next
been-
code word be filthy thin bloods. Just put that out there. Maybe workshop it if it might be too many characters. You know, it could be like thin bloods. You know, also fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll take that into consideration. I don't know if that was gonna fly.
No. Yeah. We'll workshop it. It's fine. Yeah, just putting that out there. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. So just one last time, B-Dave, where can people find you? What's the easiest place to go? Consolidated all of the places on the internet where you are at.
Twitter at B-Dave Walters. I have a pinned post at the top. I'm crowdfunding for a documentary. Check that out. Support it if you can. Signal boost. Either way, I appreciate it. I have a new werewolf stream that I'm doing that will be starting soon. Rage Across New York. We'll be doing that. Long Beach will return when LA by Night returns. And otherwise, yeah, just follow me on Twitter at B-Dave Walters. And again, if you're looking to play Vampire, join my Patreon, patreon.com/B-Dave Walters. We're doing Vampire, Werewolf, Mage, Changeling, Wraith, all the stories you know and love, and also D&D, and also Battle Lords of the 23rd Century. So yeah, jump on, and we'll see you Thursday for our Gen Con paddle. That'll be a grand old time. 3 p.m. Pacific.
I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. I think we're going to have a blast doing that. So we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you, Desiree, for helping out on the back end and being in charge of our wonderful chat. And seriously, B-Dave, thank you so much for being here. This has been a blast chatting with you, learning about the world of darkness, introducing all our fans to this incredible universe, and we can't wait to jump in with Vampire Masquerade Rivals expandable card game. So
thank you all for having me.
And we will see you all again next week. Have fun.